Hello once again. This is Refocusing Barbados, and I am Mark. I want to look at some things this evening which I consider to be quite interesting. The first one I want to look at is the impasse between the teachers and the Ministry of Education. And I should say the impasse between the teachers and the Minister of Education. Because it seems to be coming down to this. And the other thing I would want to briefly touch on is the whole idea of the Accountant General's report. Well, that's interesting. It's a very big document, over 200 pages. It's going to take some time for me to go through it. I cannot go through it in detail. I am not an economist, so I would need some help and some guidance on that. But I assure you that in the near future, we will be looking at that. But there's also one thing that we have to be mindful of. Someone chided me for not looking at the Accountant General's report. I know where that question was coming from. This is what I have to say to that person. And I want to ask them a question rather. Who is the head of the Public Accounts Committee? Think before you talk. And then I want to look at reflect on the last video that we did and some of the comments that were made subsequently and some of the suggestions that were offered. But I want to go back to this impasse between the teachers and the Minister of Education. And I'm going to specify the Minister of Education. This is really playing out very, very interestingly. There are a lot of things here that are laughable, right? Now, the teachers are refusing to correct CSBAs, okay? And the first thing, let me say that this problem started 2006. So my understanding is that since 2006, this issue raised its head. From 2006 to 2015, it has not been settled. It is still ongoing. No. First thing we have to understand that CXC is an external exam. CXC is an external exam. It is not a local exam as such. CXC is an independent body. The Ministry of Education in Barbados has no control over CXC per se. So, what falls directly within the control of CXC, the Ministry of Education cannot say or interfere with that, because the teachers do not fall under their control. The teachers are employed by the public service of Barbados and not by CXC. So the Minister of Education cannot tell the teachers that they must correct the papers, correct the SBAs. They cannot do that. But there's something very interesting that I understand happened last year during Teachers Professional Day. The teachers who were at that meeting with the union agreed in principle that they will not correct the SBAs this year. But you know, some teachers back down. And they backed down after threats were made. And you understand that there was a communique coming out of the Ministry of Education. This is what I understand. Asking for the names of all the teachers who refuse, who say they will not correct the SBAs. Now, that is tantamount to intimidation. What kind of people do we have running our country? That if people don't line up in principle, that they are going to use threats. And for the life of me, I don't understand what the teachers are saying to us as a people when they're back down because of these threats. Is the Ministry of Education going to fire all the teachers in Barbados if they do not correct the SBAs? Are they going to kick out all of those teachers if they decide that they are not going to correct them? They can't. So I don't understand why the teachers are behaving in this manner to go back on their agreement. They have broken the picket line. I don't understand why they have decided to do that. But I've been told some of these teachers are due for appointments. Some of these teachers, this is so interesting. All people are something else. Some people are waiting to be made deputy heads and all this kind of thing. So they don't want to rock the boat. So we're going to throw principal through the window. The heck with principal. But the greater problem here is, what are these teachers teaching their students? That they can throw principal through the window and just for selfish reasons? Your students are watching. And this is a shame that the teachers can behave in such a manner where they're actually saying, and this is something that has crept into our country quite a number of years ago. Me first. I breaking for me. I feeling for my own crawl. To heck with winner. When they ain't gonna help me pay my bills. Well, but I want to touch on something else that is very, very annoying about this type of administration and this administration that we have now. And I find that they resort to tyranny and to threats. And they've been doing this for too often. It's about time that we as the people say to these people, look, you can't do this any longer. We put you there to do a job, not to threaten our livelihoods, not to threaten us if we don't agree with you. And that's why I say it has to do, is an impasse between the Minister of Education and the teachers. But let me show you something that's interesting. The teachers are on solid ground, you know. The teachers are on solid ground. They have every right to stand up for this principle. But you realize what has happened, though? In order to take the wind and suck all the oxygen out of the teacher's position, here comes now something very interesting. Teachers interfering with students. But I want to ask the minister this question. Is it the teachers interfering with students or students interfering with teachers? Have you considered that, Mr. Minister? You may be surprised that if you really look at it, you may have more students interfering with teachers than teachers interfering with students. Because I know that within our system, there are teachers out there who will pull aside a teacher who was gone rogue and said to the son, man, you can't do that. You should stop it. There's still teachers out there who have moral grounding, who will say to teachers who try to do this up, don't do it, it's wrong. You got a lot of brazen young people who are, as we say, fresh with themselves, who push themselves up to teachers. And this is something that's been happening for many years now. I went to school. I saw it. Young teacher, the object of schoolgirls' fantasy. And schoolboys too. Let's move on. Last week's video raised a lot of interesting comments and debate. Not surprised. But the one question that was asked all the time of me is this: how will we get it done? It's a good idea. How will we get it done? And one person said to me, boy, I don't see that being possible. Right? They will say, never Forget it. The other camp will say, can't happen. But in between those two camps, there are over 270,000 people who are asking the question, is there any hope for us? While these two camps squabble and fight, forget the government. Do it too. Forget the government. They have demonstrated they lack the intellectual capacity and the ability to lead this country. Forget them. They don't have it. They don't have the goods. They can't deliver. Right? But we're looking at these two camps. No. And where we are positioned in between these two. And we are no wiser. Because in one camp, people are saying never. In the other camp, people are saying can't happen. And there's nobody's want to step across and say, come on, meet me in the middle, let's discuss this. I can tell you something about political parties, right? When political parties begin to smell victory, they don't think about people, They think about themselves. They don't think about us one bit. It's all about them. And they get ready, they have a knife ready to cut up the pie and divide it between all their supporters and their inner circle. So the inner circle protects their piece of the pie, but you're excluding other people. That's what happens. And I think that is what is happening here. No, that's what you will hear. Never. If you want to know what the real problem with democracy, look at the political parties in this country. You will be surprised how they function. It's about the inner circle and what they want. It has nothing to do with other people out there who may want to be a part of the process. It's the political class and the culture that they have developed over the years that determine how a democracy will be. Whether we are going to be a part of the process, and we are not a part of the process. They want us to have a say once every 5 years. After that, it isn't about us anymore. It's all about them and what they want and what they will get out of it. Not even in candidate selection do you really see democracy at work. It all depends on what the leader wants. I don't want you. I don't care how intelligent you are. I don't care what you have to offer this country. You ain't coming in here. Because you are not towing the line. And the problem is that we have it upside down. The society is mirroring the political parties. I have a problem, see? And I don't want to pretend to be God. I will not do that. Because if I were God, I would have already dealt with certain desires. I would have done that. I'm sure you. But God is merciful, long-suffering, slow to anger, and abundant in mercy. And I looking at how things are playing out, I'm saying to people, look, pray. Pray for this country. Pray for this country. Pray for our leaders. Because underlying our deepest problems are spirits. A spirit of implacability. The spirit of divisiveness. Unfamiliar spirits. The spirit of destruction that eats away at the core of our families. Spirits that seek to destroy all that we have believed in. Can we ignore the magnitude of the tragedy of human suffering and expect our country to be safe? Can we expect to ignore age-old moral groundings and escape societal decay Can we leave the thinking to our politicians and expect them to operate in our best interests? These are the things we need to think about, talk about, and pray about. Thank you, and Matt, and this has been Refocusing Barbados.